Please pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father God, we love you, but we thank you for today, and we thank you for the many blessings you give, and we thank you for the protection from the weather that came through lately. We thank you for our first responders that continue to protect us. I pray that you give them protection. Lord, I pray that you ask for wisdom from you tonight, God, as we make decisions for our community. Lord, I pray that everything done would just be done in honor of you. We love you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Matthew, I'll lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll go ahead and convene our meeting. Start with the roll call. Misty Cottle.
Here.
Jeff Upton. Here. Jan Throgmorton.
Here.
John Collins. Here. Kira Hungate.
Here.
Don Rollins.
Here.
Joe Tower. Here. Dina McKnight. Dina McKnight. Our city attorney is present, and our city clerk is present. So next is the adoption of our agenda. Are there any changes that need to be made on the agenda? No? Do we have a motion to accept the agenda?
I'll make it.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second to accept the agenda. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. Next is the approval of our meeting minutes from December 10th. Are there any changes that need to be made there? Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to accept the meeting minutes. Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. Did you get both of those? Ann? Okay. So next item on the agenda is our public forum. We try to allow 2 minutes for anyone to come and address the council. We don't have a lot here tonight, so if you run over 2 minutes, that's be all right. Just keep in mind, we won't take any action on anything that's brought up during the public forum, but we will comment and reply back with you, ask you questions. So thank you for coming. If you're here for the public forum, step up here and tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Carol Martin, and this is Gary Digby. Okay, and we live on Cedar Avenue, and we wanted to make you aware of our problem with the deer. We're just totally overrun with deer up there on Cedar, and maybe Jan knows about that, but I think it's time for us to do something about it. And recently, last April, the state passed a law against feeding deer, okay? No grain, food, minerals, pellets, etc. And the reason for this was to prevent the deer from congregating in certain spots and getting that wasting disease, which is highly contagious and spread through urine and poop and all of that. So you get the picture. Unfortunately, on Cedar Avenue, we have a couple of neighbors who are feeding the deer extravagantly, twice a day, morning and evening. And I have seen this with my own eyes. And we have deer congregating, 9, 10, 11 deer. And you worry about hitting the deer. You're concerned about your garden being demolished by the deer. And as you well know, this past year, we've had an awful lot of rain. And so the grass is not nutrient rich. So they are eating everything else but the grass, you know. And we have a lot of fences up on Cedar Avenue, and the deer don't care. But the neighbors who are feeding the deer perhaps don't know about this new law, which I didn't until I saw it on TV. And it's really become a problem on our street. Gary, would you like to add your own experience?
Yeah, my wife and I moved here recently from North Carolina, and we live down the street from Carroll. But for example, well, we have deer come to our yard every day, which probably not unusual. But I know last week we counted there was a herd of 9 deer came through our yard, went across the street up in the neighbor's yard, and there, there's deer everywhere. One concern that I have, obviously, when they have their offspring this spring, it's going to be that many more deer, and it's really become a problem. As Carol said, you can't hardly have anything in your yard. We have a very thorny rose bush in our yard. We thought it'd be safe. Of course, they ate the leaves. I guess they left the thorns alone. But anyway, I just want to express to try to help, and I'm sure you are aware that there is a growing problem there on our area and on that hillside, because what they do, it seems to me like before dark, they start going up the mountain or the hill, and they just graze their way from down to the bottom all the way to the top.
Have you guys reached out to the Game and Fish Commission about this yet?
No, this is our first stop.
Okay.
We've tried talking to our neighbors. It hasn't worked.
Okay.
And the other thing is the idea of an urban hunt. Other cities have tried that when they become overrun with deer populations. So, that's something maybe in the future we'd want to consider for next fall. But I would really like to see the law enforced against feeding deer. Anything else?
That's all.
So-
Thank you very much.
So, Carol, I think the first thing that I think we will do, unless someone else has another idea, but we do have a Game and Fish officer who is located here in West Fork.
Oh, really?
And so I think we'll reach out to him, make him aware of it, and see what kind of ideas he has for this. And
In fact, he lives
He
close
lives
to
right
us, I
there
believe.
at Hungate.
Yes.
Right.
So I think that would be our first approach to this, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, I think we should make all the citizens aware of, the change and all, because nobody wants a deer dying of wasting disease in their yard. I mean, wouldn't look good for West Fork.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very
guys.
much
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Would anyone else like to address the city council? If you guys need to leave, you're more than welcome.
Okay.
You don't have to sit here. I would love for you to sit here.
I'd love to hear what this lady has to say.
Absolutely. Stay as long as you like.
Okay, so the Small Town Big Lights Holiday Lights Contest I thought was amazing this year. We had so many lights that probably could have entered that did not. We had 12 official entries. We had 3 cash prizes, and thanks to Oxford Goggins, we had an amazing slideshow for the community vote. And so I don't know if everybody got the word on the vote or voted or drove around and looked at the lights, but we had 161 votes for the community vote, and I thought that was amazing. So it's a super fun thing, and for 2020, Leslie Cottle is going to chair that program. And then on the parade, when I was talking about this in December, I forgot to thank Keith Clapper, because I thought he did an amazing job as MC, and he's agreed to do that next year. We had about 20 in the parade, which was pretty cool. We had about 4 vendors, and next year the chair for that is going to be Amanda Bunch. Excuse me. And one thing that is being discussed currently is changing the parade from Saturday to a Wednesday, and perhaps we'll do a community vote on that as well. And then the Memorial Project is taking off. I think I don't know if you've driven by to see the flagpole and the flag and the solar light that is lighting up that area. And the pavilion for the fire truck should be up soon, which is exciting, or sometime this year, I should say, is the goal, is to have it up in 2020. I should mention that Toon Concrete donated the concrete on that project, and Ann Upton continues as chair of that project. And then we've discussed that if we have any city offices that have opposition for candidate forum in October, that we're happy to host that. if there's interest. Of course, there's some other races that affect Westport voters, but I'm not sure that we want to have a forum for only outside folks. And I always want to be sure that I remember to thank Chad Harrison and Isaac and Christy and Amanda and Danny and everybody at the city that makes all the projects that we do possible, because we can't do any of them without them. And it's a huge benefit on that. And the next date for these projects is March the 3rd at 6 o'clock, and it will be at the administration building. And sometimes I get feedback that people are not aware that the public is welcome to those, and yes, we welcome all community participation in those projects and at those meetings, so we thank you.
Any questions for Jennifer?
Thank you so much. Oh, community center looks amazing, so great. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for that.
Would anyone else like to address the council? No? All right, we'll close the public forum and move into our business reports. Walter Harnish with our planning commission report.
Evening, Council. As per usual, not a whole lot. Our agenda for this month, we only have one rezoning application coming before us. I did talk with Jeff Hawkins yesterday and hopefully lit a little bit more of a fire under him. He sounds like he might really try to get it for our next meeting here Thursday, but you know how that goes. And we tabled our application for our new member, so hopefully next month we'll be coming to you with a recommendation. Beyond that, though, I can't really think much.
Any questions for Walter? So heads up, Walter, I will not make it to your meeting
Okay,
Thursday.
sounds good. We'll manage.
And you guys will be at the fire
Yes.
department? Yes.
All right. Thank you much.
Thank you, sir. The library report, Shannon?
Hello. In December, our Friends of the Library auction raised over $1,800 in December. We're very thankful for all who donated and came over to check out and purchase the items. And as we begin a new year, we're starting to work on our mission statement, disaster relief planning, and strategic planning, which will include our vision and core values. So understanding our goals should help us when applying to grants, as well as we want to understand them to help better serve our community's needs. We're also working on our plan of action as far as the new library is set up. So over the next couple of months, that's what we'll be working on until the construction ends to be able to put that in place. So we have a lot of big things coming our way this year. And we are streaming our next Ask the Mayor this Friday at 3 p.m. We're doing that on the library site. Mayor, would you like to talk about Ask the Mayor now? Or?
Sure. So Shannon is helping with that. She's actually running that because she knows how to make it work, and she's doing a fabulous job. We do have some questions this time. So Dawn, if you would join me on Friday, I'd appreciate it to get those questions answered. I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say, that was kind of short notice.
So I think,
See if I can get a day off real quick.
I think currently we have 5, 6, maybe 7 questions / topics to go over. So last time we didn't have any, and so that was, I mentioned it to Shannon, but I don't really get nervous in front of people, but doing Facebook Live, I couldn't speak, I couldn't catch my breath. It was awful. So Shannon has volunteered to kind of prompt me through this one this time, and hopefully that will help me perform a little bit better so people can at least understand what I'm saying.
And not stutter as much.
Yes, and I obviously have a problem saying right, when I'm talking in public, so. But yes, so Friday, 3 o'clock will be the live, when it will go live.
And it will be shared on the city site immediately following.
Okay,
So everyone will be able to view it, even if they can't join us at 3 p.m.
and I think we had several views to the last one. I don't know that we've had, were there any comments, do you know?
Just a couple of questions that were submitted for the next Ask the Mayor, which is
Okay.
this week.
Okay. So, anyway, keep that in mind. Check it out. We'll be there.
And Ask the Mayor.
Ask the mayor, yes, and ask the mayor. Hey, Shannon, before you sit down, so a couple things I wanted to point out at the library, and we spoke about this the other day, but I wanted everyone to look at Shannon's report. That library has been under construction most of the year. It remains under construction. Christy and Joe will give an update on that in a little bit. But at the West Fork Library, we checked out almost 50,000 items last year while under construction, while working with reduced inventories, and had almost 20,000 patrons come through the door. I was amazed, I was blown away by those numbers that our library is servicing, and can only imagine what's going to happen as we complete construction and Shannon continues with her mission and vision down there. So I think a lot of this is directly attestable to you, Shannon, and for that, very good job.
Thank you.
Any other questions for him? Thank you, ma'am. Next is your court report, Mr. Ritchie.
You think you can make it any smaller?
Well, it would have been just a little bit bigger except my scanner wasn't working, so I had to make do with what I had. Anyway, I have a bigger copy if you'd like it. And I have a big monitor and I make it really big on the screen and I'm like, I'm saving paper and saving money. Okay, so this month we had 358 cases. That is up about 30 from last month, and we were up about 80 from last year. Our money, we ended up at $9,000 collected over the year, more than last year. And on the disbursements, we were up a little bit from last month, about $4,000 or $5,000.
Any questions for Tracy? So again, with the court, and Tracy, you have to help me with this, but part of this report shows the 2019 year-to-date numbers.
Yes.
So if you come down to the bottom of that, our 2019 number is 3403, and our 2018 was 4490. What exactly does that number represent? Do you know yet?
I think that we may have some discrepancies on the civil cases, okay? Because I'm not exactly sure how those are supposed to be recorded, okay? They're really weird the way that you enter them in the system, okay? So I'm trying to figure out how to keep track of those every time because they don't close on one day like everything else does. It's like all during the month.
Okay.
So it's kind of weird. And then like the discrepancy with the FTAs and the failed to pays, the warrants, okay? I think that may have made us go down a little bit.
Okay.
So I don't really think that we're down from last year that much. I think it's a little bit of a discrepancy in the reporting because I'm learning how to do it.
And I'm okay with that. That was my question. Our revenue is up, but our caseload is, for my terminology, our caseload is down by 1,000. And so that was where I was trying to reconcile.
Yeah, I noticed that too, and I was like, I'm not sure about that.
And then the other report you gave me that's more detailed, it had a different number there, but it listed out some of that other stuff, and so that's why I was a little bit confused, just what we were representing
so
with
I was
this.
also looking like at our total cases for this year, and it was like a 6,000 number.
Right.
And that is because, like, you do the arraignments, which is the first time that they come in front of the judge, or when they plead guilty or not guilty, the very first time in front of the judge. Okay, so you have that, and that counts as we've touched that case. But if they plead not guilty, then it goes to trial. So we touch all of those again. Okay? If they're continued, we touch them for a third time. Sometimes we touch them for a fourth time. I mean, we just keep going. And all of those get counted because we have to do exactly the same thing to them every time. You have to enter the whole disposition that, yes, they were present, no, they weren't present, this is what happened, they were rescheduled, all of those things. So that adds up in that total count that I sent you on the other stuff.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that describes, that was kind of what I was thinking. That other report you gave me is much more detailed, and I could kind of see where some of the numbers were coming from, and that's why I was wondering if that just wasn't, some of that wasn't in this number. So,
these are basically just citations. That's what this year to date is. So
citations. Okay.
I'm supposed to put down like there's a report that we pulled for the Arkansas State Police, and they issued 86 citations in our court this month. Okay.
Right.
In the Westport PD, we had, the way that the report shows is 101. Okay.
And so the good thing is, Tracy will be here at this time next year, and we will have consistency in the report. Tracy won't be trying to figure out what was done before her and what wasn't, so, perfect. Any questions for Tracy? No? Thank you. Next, Chief Nielsen.
All right. My writing's small too, I can barely read it. But they want it all on this one page, so. I had 128 citations, 109 warnings, and 12 of those were written in Greenland. We had 43 warrants served. I did want you to look at the juveniles. It says 23. If you do your math, that's not right. We had about 8 juvenile issues. For the year, we're at 4,033 calls. And I wanted to also point out with some of the SRO stuff for the year, our incidents at the school for the year were 136. We had 21 juveniles cited, 4 with felonies throughout the year at Westport. So on the new cars, we're not going to get them for about a month, and they're going to come in at the same time. I found that out. You guys have questions on anything about what's going on? Or our new recruits are doing good. Officer Underwood's surgery went well. He's recovering and doing well. So
Chief, you mentioned something the other day. We got some school accolades.
yeah, I was probably the happiest I've been since I've been here. Not only from the judge, well, I'm just saying with the positive talk.
This was just a step better than me winning mayor.
They had a regional Northwest Arkansas meeting of the schools for the school resource officers, and the FBI goes, and in that meeting, the FBI stood up and not only offered one of my officers a job investigating runaway juveniles, not runaway, but endangered juveniles. It goes in depth, but said that us, along with Rogers, are the absolute model for schools to look at when it comes to how we react to sexual assaults, abductions, and things like that. And I was very proud of that, because that's, if you guys know the record, that's tenfold what we were 5 years ago. So I'm very, very, very proud of that.
Is that officer in the room, Chief?
He is. So he's done a lot of work, and he's really thrown himself into that job. And not only to be around the kids, but he's taken it a step further. He's one of our only, well, he is our only officer that is it CDAC or CADC? Certified? He's a forensic interview. He's certified. He can do the same thing as a state investigator can. And he's really thrown himself into these sexual assaults and these problems. And I'm proud of him for it. He's worked hard in training, and he's also worked with the school a lot of other ways for the safety, for the rave buttons, for you name it. He does a lot of button heads, but seems to be getting things done in our schools. So,
Thank you, Officer.
Keep the FBI away from me.
I know.
Any other questions for Chief? Thank you, sir. Goggins, you gonna stay with us? This FBI deal, that's in conjunction with your current job.
There are some logistical issues with that.
But you'll be with us? You'll be with us? Okay.
We'll do that.
Public Works, Isaac, what do you have for us tonight?
Well, we are back online at the sewer plant, so no more long nights down there at the plant fueling pumps. I'm excited about that. And our first samples come back, well, they were really, really good. So I think the pond cleanout was a good deal. I'll let Nick catch you up on the sewer line project. We have been plugging along, trying to fix what sewer repairs we can. We replaced 100 feet on Ann Street. I've ordered a shoring box so we can repair some of the deeper repairs. We didn't have any means of trench safety, so we got that. We are down a pump at our water pump station. and now we are gonna be down 2 because I'm having one rebuilt. So we'll have 2 brand-new pumps at our pump station, and that thing will be pretty much brand spanking new. So that'll be 2 new pumps and 1 rebuilt in the last 2 years, so we ought to be good at the pump station. Other than that, it's just been helping Nick with the sewer line project, and
How many feet of pipe do we have in the ground now?
yeah, I'm not sure. The guys that are laying the gravity are the ones I see more often than not, and they're moving along
I think
quick.
Nick's last update, which was, what, 2 weeks ago, had them at, what, a little over a mile?
We've got 8,300.
8,300 feet now?
Last week, so about, let's see, 4,600 of force main, and then 3,700 feet of gravity line coming back in Westport. So they're working up in front of the Air Museum, museum up there. They laid all that, about to cross the highway, and then, yeah, they've made good progress. They started just south of Rock Creek, and we're working their way back towards the plant, and doing good. They're getting into some shallower parts for a bit, so they'll speed them up if the ground can dry out. Got quite a bit of rain, but they're making good progress. We started digging the lift station too. We've got about a 10 or 12 foot deep hole over there.
Full of water.
It was full of water Monday, but they pumped it out. But it's starting to go down vertical there. So overall percent complete, they're about 16%. Just based on dollars earned. That's right on schedule. They're making good progress.
Good.
They are moving along good. That's all I really had, unless y'all got questions for me.
Water loss?
Water loss last month was bad. We've been having some SCADA issues with the Tower Street tank, so it's overflowed. We've turned the water over in a time or two this last month, so I'm hoping we get those addressed. I had to go up and log on and let the guy from El Dorado log on through my computer, and we switched it to 4G. Had no signal. We switched it back to 3G. It had a little bit of signal, enough that it'll work, and 3G is obsolete at the end of this year, so they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with that. And they're supposed to be bringing us a new antenna. It overflowed today, and I didn't even get an alarm on it, so they're still having some issues on their end as well as up here. It's Verizon has a tower down, and that's causing us some problems. We had the same problem with one of our cellular meters. We put a 4G up there by the interstate, and it worked about a month and quit. Put a 5G in, works great. Now I've got 3G meters all around the tank, and they all work great. It's just something about the 4G right there is messed up.
Hopefully get back down to the 20s.
I'm hoping. Maybe this next month will look a lot better. And we found a couple of leaks today reading meters, so.
So we also, I came up Robinson on my way over here. They've really started making some progress on that.
Yes.
On the sidewalk going down Robinson, to the north end of the bridge. So we should see some concrete probably being poured soon.
Yeah, they were forming for curb today. And y'all are, when you drive it, it's going to look narrow, but it's 18 feet. It's 2 car widths wide. It looks really narrow,
But the idea there too is that's going to slow traffic down
it
through
will be a
those neighborhood streets.
natural slowing of traffic just by the width of the street.
So I will tell you, Chad, I've been getting a lot of emails from some of the kids, East program, and then a civics class as well. And that's one of the things they've been bringing up a lot is sidewalks, both down the streets, around the parks, connecting the two. So I don't know if you guys are getting any of that, or if some of us can come. I've been trying to give them an update on what we're doing. A couple of the ideas are some drinking fountains at Riverside. They would like to be able to bike down there, different things. So some stuff we've heard before, but I always like it when the kids are reaching out and talking about sidewalks and traversing from school to home and different things. Of course, one of the big items is a bridge across the bridge, or a sidewalk across the bridge. And we're at the state's mercy on that, but we're going to start getting the squeaky wheel and see if something will happen. So, anything else for Isaac?
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Parks report.
Don't have a lot additional than what's in your packet, but I will address, we met yesterday and we started discussing on some projects that we'd like to accomplish in 2020. And one of the things that's high priority on our list is adding a trail at Carter Park that would accommodate both bikes and pedestrians. You know, we've had this discussion about Riverside sidewalks, and they're just not wide enough. So, I mean, at some point, those could be widened possibly, but I think the better alternative is to add a trail at a different location at Carter Park that would tie in nicely to other things that we've got going on down there. So that's kind of our goal, is to get a trail down there that would be more of a bike pedestrian trail. So, to address that. But as far as everything else, we mainly are just been working on preparing for our upcoming season. Our high school team's already practicing down there when they can with the weather. And their games will start in early March. Ours will start. We've started our sign-ups for our summer league program, and we'll start practicing usually mid-March, and games will start somewhere early to mid-April. So that's the main thing, and we're still trying to work on getting our disc golf course completed and get it officially open, although it's playable and people are playing it and getting some good feedback from it as well. Main thing we're waiting on is signage, get our signage up before we just publicly officially get it open and welcome people to it. So, and then we met. The Parks Committee met yesterday, and we selected a date for our 4th of July event, and we were hoping to hold our event on July 2nd this year instead of the 3rd. But to be able to do that, we need to ask the council the fireworks ordinance for the city states that you can only shoot and display fireworks on the 3rd and the 4th of July. So I'm coming to y'all to ask permission to be able to hold that event on the 2nd and shoot our display on July 2nd. So we can go ahead and get that scheduled and booked with our vendors and things.
So you want us to make a decision on that tonight?
That would be great.
We'll make a motion. Have it on the 2nd.
I'll call that a one-year. So Thursday night?
To extend, I guess.
Yes, it is a Thursday night.
So a one-year waiver on our
Yes.
current fireworks ordinance?
For the parks event only?
Let's go all out.
I'm just,
I would say just everybody would be able to, because, I mean,
They're going to anyways.
they're going to
at the park.
anyway, and if we're doing it, I mean, you know,
Okay.
they'll be at their house or lighting up sprinkler.
Make your motion.
I'll make my motion for the year 2020 to extend it, the fireworks to July the 2nd, to add the one additional day.
Okay. So we have a motion to amend our fireworks ordinance to include January 2nd for the year 2020.
Or July the 2nd.
July the 2nd.
Yeah.
On the 2nd.
We have a motion and a second?
Yep.
Any discussion on that? Okay. All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Those opposed, no? Motion carries.
well, that's easy. Really all I want.
Defeat from the jaws of victory.
So, Chad, I also noticed in your minutes that you guys had discussed moving those pavilions
Yes.
over to the start of the disc golf. Do you have a time frame when, is that something you're going to get on, or
Yes,
is that
that's something.
later down the?
No, we hope to do that within, again, right now, our goal is get the fields and everything ready for the season, get the course open and playable. But yeah, we hope to do that in the next month or two, before we have any kind of official grand opening or tournaments or anything like that down there. But yeah, we hope to do that soon. We're just moving 2 of them as of now. There's 4 there, and almost 0 of them get used to where they're located. So that was the thinking behind that. Instead of building new ones, move those and use them, get more use out of those.
So the question I have, one of the topics on Facebook this past week that I've been made aware of is the thought of potentially building a stage, performing arts stage. Something I thought just came to mind. Is anyone using our current pavilions that we have at any of the parks for that type of? I mean, obviously they could be rented and used for that. I was just wondering, do we see much activity in that area
As far as
currently?
music, not a lot. They are rented for that. And Christie could probably tell you better if she schedules, her and Amanda schedule those more so. But I mean, we have had events like that at the pavilion or near the pavilion in the past. And I know they've worked with Seek Church, and they've done some movie nights down there and things like that as well this summer, last couple of summers. It's also in some of our short-term, maybe short to long-term goals is to add a stage, an outdoor stage at Carl Park as well. We have an area in mind, and looking at that, it's definitely a project that's been on our radar and something that we are hoping to accomplish and researching and trying to do as well. We think that would tie in with our 4th of July event and tie into the disc golf course if we hold tournaments and things like that in the area where we want to put it, but it could also serve as an outdoor stage for music venues and things as well, for music events and things. But those are things that we've discussed
Okay.
as well.
Very good. Any other questions for Chad?
I don't think Riverside is a great place for that, for obvious reasons, flooding, crowding, the typical reasons we have for anything going on at Riverside, but,
And that's, I think that's part of it. Riverside is beautiful. You can't take that away, but we're limited on parking, we're limited on space. We have floods every year, bathrooms, yes.
yeah, and we've added, gravel parking and it's all kind of a theme where we're putting our parking lot and where we put our entrance to our golf course and all that, and the trail and everything. We're hoping that all ties together, and the stage in that area is all hopefully very tied together well. And I think it's just because of the flooding issues, because of the parking issues and all that. It makes. Last year, Seek Church that we kind of worked with on the Easter event, they got rained out at Riverside. We wound up moving it to Carter, and now they want to book it down there. It was just I tried to get them to do it down there, and they want to do it Riverside. It's a great place, it really is. But once they moved down there, now they want to continue it down there. It was much more functional thing. So, anything else?
No, I think that's great. That'll allow me to update when we do Facebook Live. If you would write that down, Shannon, and we'll.
I can get with you before.
Do what?
I can get with you before Friday as well on any of those.
Or you may, if you want to set in, you're welcome to do that.
Me and Dawn are doing something. We got plans. So.
Thank you,
Is that it? Thanks.
Chief Myers.
Speaking of powers ordinances, kind of reminded me, I'll probably try to get something together, hopefully by next meeting. I'm trying to enforce 3 different ordinances: West Fork City Ordinance, Greenland City Ordinance, the county ordinance, and they're all 3 just a little bit different in some ways. So I'd like to try to put it all together where everything is basically on the same page. So I'll try to have something together for that. I think they had quite a few inquiries about wanting to shoot fireworks on Christmas Day or New Year's. We don't allow that in town, so I got confused. I would tell people, yeah, I think you can, but I think you can do it in Greenwood, but you can't do it here. So anyway, I want to try to get that together. So finished the year with 826 calls, which was up from 782 last year. Goes up a little every year, 20, 30, 40 a year. Added a new report with the new computer system. It's really kind of interesting to see what I can find out. Showed our average response times in the city, county, and this is from the actual time we get the call for service to when we get on scene. So we're 507 for Westbrook city limits, 774 in Greenland, and 1212 in the county, which I wish I knew the state average or national average, but I don't, because I doubt that a lot of volunteer fire departments keep that kind of information, but I'm gonna try to find out. Now that I have some concrete figures to go off of, I can see how well we do. So,
And I was kind of surprised by how quick it is, especially in town, 5 minutes.
It's a credit to my guys for getting up and getting there on time and, you know, really caring about what they do. So I appreciate what they do. The only other thing that I've got is that, you know, we've talked about radios. Well, we got the quorum court finally is going to take it to the voters to let them vote on whether you want a more tax increase to help pay for the communication system in this county. So I'm not a big supporter of more taxes, but if this doesn't pass, it's going to hurt everybody. So we got to find the money somewhere. So it's going to come from us somewhere. So I would definitely support the tax. It is a tax that when it's a quarter cent, when it wears off, when it's paid for, it's done. So it's a bad need for this county that we're going to have to do. So, what? No.
They don't ever get done.
Well, probably not, because by the time it's paid for, there'll be the need upgrades. But we should come out fairly well with this, since we upgraded our radios a few years ago. If they offer a buyback program for what we have, our radios are newer than most in the county, so we as a fire department should turn out really good. Hard to get any definite figures on anything because they can't enter into a contract until they get the money to pay for it. So we're really having a county meeting on the 28th of this month. May know a little more then, may not. They're the one that will tell us anything definite until after they find out whether the tax passes. So, but anyway, we'll have a lot of people asking about it, so it's what it's about. It's going to be just 100% communication for replacing the radio system that we have. And everybody knows how bad that is. They may cut our numbers from 507 to way more than that. We don't have it.
Sure.
And that's all I've got.
Any questions for Chief Myers? Thank you, sir. Yeah, when he showed me those response times, I was really surprised. And I thought even the county response at 12 minutes, that's on par with what Central EMS is doing in the county, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Real close.
Yeah. Christy Dryman with our treasurer's report.
We ended the year at increasing our cash balance, our bank balances by about $121,000. All of the departments ended up coming in under budget except one, and that was due to a fire to a vehicle in December, so there wasn't a lot of time to make up for that catastrophe at the end of the year. But overall, the city came in under budget by $181,000. The water department increased their bank balances by almost $100,000, and they came in under budget by $193,000. So I think overall the budgets turned out really good this year. The department heads are all really good to watch those and to do their best to stay within those budgets. Our sales tax for the city did decrease by a little over 4% this year. The county sales tax increased by 3%, so they almost offset themselves. Hopefully, we will see a trend of picking that back up and not continuing to go down for this year. Any questions on the finances?
And then I'm probably the only person that doesn't know. So that extra that they didn't spend, does that carry back over, and so they get to carry it over to the next year? What happens with that?
That money basically goes into reserves, so it does not carry over. They just start with the new budgets that we approved. There are different departments, so we have in the general fund, the city administration, the police, fire, and part of the court and the library fall into the general fund. that money goes into general fund reserves. The street and parks, the money that is given to them for sales tax goes into their reserves. It doesn't roll over into their next year's budget, but it is considered their reserves, just because those are restricted accounts and we can't share that money. Once, we can't use street monies for, and park money for cities. And same with the water's separate also.
And Chrissy, just to add to what you're saying, Dina, so that does go into reserves, and those reserves can be used. Case in point, this year we pulled some money out for chief to replace that car. But also, like for the sewer project, we had to get a bond. That bond was $10 million. Well, in order for those bond companies to okay that, we have to have a certain amount of reserves. So if we went on a spending spree, spend our reserves down, the bond company would be knocking on the door saying, "No, whoa, you can't do this. You have to have a certain amount of reserve."
The auditor recommends that you always have at least 6 months of reserves in there. I don't know that there's a law that says you have to have a certain amount. The bond companies are definitely gonna have a heart attack if you get too low, but the auditor suggests 6 month reserves. And we have that plus a little. So. We probably have closer to a year in reserves.
We're right at a year.
Other than that, we have construction.
Hang on, before you go
Yes.
any further, let's stay in
I would
the
love to talk about finance.
let's stay in
Not
the
construction.
finance department for just a minute. I just want to point out, I talked last meeting, gave kind of a rundown of what the department's done and what Christie had done in her department. So we just saw that all the budgets are in good shape except for Chief Nelson's. And Christie's not a miracle worker, but she is a very good department head, finance treasurer. Those budgets are in the shape they are because of the information you're giving the department heads. They know where they're at each month. They're able to come with questions. I talked about last month how she's balancing the 3 building projects and all the red tape associated with that. But the city employees already have their W-2s as well. So I don't know how many sitting up here have their W-2s already. But in the middle of that, Christie also has W-2s out. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. I know what you go through to get all that accomplished. So thank you. Please continue with.
Instruction. So we have a few minor things still at the court. We're waiting on some like door signs for the bathrooms, that kind of thing. The Jim Cruz is doing our sound and auto. He started this week, should be there tomorrow to finish that. So for the most part, it is wrapped up. We okayed some money to move forward with the library last month, and we have had a hiccup with that. And I'm going to ask Joe. We had a meeting with Baldwin and Shell, the architect, Joe and Isaac. So I'm going to ask Joe, just because he knows more, understands the construction process more, to just kind of update you guys on that and tell you where we're at on that.
Well, about 2 months ago, the predecessor event to us voting to add $23,000 to the contract. We gathered at the library, the floors were out, part of the ceiling was gone, and we looked at what needed to be done to stabilize the floor. It has an old rock foundation that's given away in a couple of places. The door in the corner of the building by the old existing book drop is pretty much gone. There's no bearing, the wall's disintegrated, and they need to be redressed. I was a little dismayed. I'm not going to speak for you two, but I think we were all surprised because when we showed up, and even the architect's impression was that work was underway, outlined with the proposal that we had voted to fund them and get them started. Instead, what we discovered was that Baldwin and Shell had further concerns about another, I made them tape it out and quantify it, linear foot tape, about another 81 feet of foundation. And this was a surprise to Christie, Isaac, and myself, because we looked at the floor last time, looked at the perimeter of it. That's not something that they told us they didn't address in the peer proposal. We backed up, regrouped, instructed the construction manager, Sean, the project manager, to quantify everything else and ask him about what was in the proposal last time to separate the wheat from the chaff. And then it turned out that Brett Parks, the architect, is going to, he's already touched base with Jim, the structural engineer, for further clarifications to try to bring everybody on the same page of music. The big question is why the proposal came to us incomplete. We're addressing that issue. We're gonna go back to it and ask them why they didn't pick up all the work. Now, and Isaac, I'm not going to speak for you, but the fixes that need to happen, the framing repair above ceiling, are really simple. They're not that complicated.
They're pretty minor.
The floor repair is fairly straightforward as well. I think my perception of the problem with Baldwin and Shell is they have a commercial work orientation and they're scared of liability. So they reiterated the request that the engineer of record give them a solid recommendation to repair all of the floor around the perimeter foundation, in addition to, I guess, the piers that were already outlined. I've asked the architect to send everything over to review, to formulate a response, to give the mayor the data that he needs to set the right tone to the response of the construction manager. So essentially, you know, starkly looking at it, we're in the same place we were 2 months ago. We requested that this be brought to a head at the end of this week, no later than the middle of next week. And the architect's already indicated that that shouldn't be a problem. And then we'll tackle the issue of what exactly was in the job and their number last time and why it wasn't all encompassing or inclusive, and cross that once we know really what the engineer of record needs to do.
So in saying all of that, we have some money that we carried over, that we put in the new budget, that we knew was going to be left over from last year, so we've put some money in the new budget. Brett, our architect, is not expecting this to be a astronomical change in budget. So there's a possibility that we already have the money budgeted to cover this, and we're fine. If we get numbers back that are not, then we may be calling a special meeting, just so we can improve that and move forward and not sit on it another month. So just heads up, it's a possibility, but there's also a possibility, hopefully we'll know no later than the end of next week, what the plan is, what the cost is, and have something. Either way, when we get that information, we'll send that out to you guys, just so you'll know that we've, assuming that the money's there, that we can move forward, we'll let you guys know that. If there's a reason that we need a special meeting, then obviously we'll call that and get that underway also.
Well, and I will restate that Brett Parks went on record yesterday saying it's really, yes, it's a problem. It's an old house, there are issues there, but none of this is insurmountable. It's not out of the ordinary. You know, Isaac, I think you feel the same way. We look at it the same way. The framing repair is fairly straightforward. The structural floor repair is a little more involved, but it's not a catastrophe. I am a little dismayed. You know, full disclosure, I used to work for this company. I'm a little thrown back. I know I never had the latitude to lose 2 months on anything in my life. Someone would come out of the woodwork and beat me about the head, chest, and shoulders. I can't really speak to that, but I know where we're at now and where we're going to be in the middle of next week.
Any questions on construction? Final thought, I sent you all an email that says you need to turn in a statement of financial interest by January 31st. If you didn't get it, let me know. If you need a blank copy instead of printing one off yourself, let me know. But try to have those.
Someone got theirs started in.
More than one person has turned theirs in already to me, so there's more than one person on the ball, but the Arkansas Ethics Committee is the one that requires that, so just, it's something that's kept on file at the city, but they request that they're required to be in by the 31st, so just try to keep that in mind. Like I said, if you need a blank copy of it instead of printing it yourself, let me know. but try to get that to us. Amanda's a notary at the city, so she could notarize it for you.
So one other thing, just to touch on real quick, we, last week, got hacked. So if anyone, I don't know how many of you received an email from Christy or a text saying you need to change your passwords on the email.
That was just city email accounts, but yeah.
Just kind of an overview of what happened. Christy was in an email string with her counterpart in Fayetteville, talking about the money for the sewer project. They had a decision made. Christy moved on to other things. 2 minutes later, that email starts back up again, requesting that the money be sent wire transfer. Fayetteville sends a form. It was all caught because of a phone call that Fayetteville changed their wire transfer procedures, and Christy's like, no. We were talking about a check. Shut this down. So we are in the process of our IT department, Fayetteville's IT department.
It's been done. So yeah, our IT's been there. We've been in touch with Fayetteville's IT department. Both sides have made sure that all passwords have been changed on all of our city accounts. We are also going to put into place that happens more often. We have been remiss to do that more often. So we are going to actually have a written policy that our passwords are going to have to be changed. And we need to talk about the time, but probably every 3 to 6 months, because it's not something that we've been forcing the accounts to do.
Are you going to that county?
Yes, I am going to a meeting 2 weeks from tonight. It's a cyber security type meeting. I think our IT guy's going to try to go also. But the Microsoft, as well as Fayetteville's IT and our IT guy, agreed that it was a spoofing incident, not related to the incident that we had in December. So, but hopefully with changing passwords and changing those on a regular basis. We also, for the administrator password on that, as well as mine, just because I do send a lot of sensitive information, have changed to a multi-factor authentication process where it has to send me a text. If someone tries to sign into mine, then a text is sent for an authentication code to do that. Not every email, we didn't set every email up in the city to have to do that, but because so much secure information goes through mine, sensitive information goes through mine, we did set mine up to do that, to do it that way.
So I brought that up to add to what I was saying earlier about the job Christy's doing. So Christy almost stole $1 million from, I mean, that's what it looked like. That's, and I say that to say that's some of the pressure that she's under is that looked like her email directing that money to a different account. It would have been easy to see that it was not Christy, but immediately it would have looked like Christy just embezzled money, and that's what's scary for her in her position. And so with all the other stuff you have going on, I appreciate that weight because that's scary. It scared me to death when you showed me that and told me. I mean, that's just an extra added stress that you're carrying, and so thank you.
Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Next, we don't have any old business tonight. Everything got settled last meeting, so we'll move into new business. First up are some change orders at the court. Zap General, $2,942 for rental and shoring posts during structural design. Some PC hardware. Supply 3 mirrors for restrooms. Remove and replace ceiling tile in the police area. That looks much better, by the way. The ceiling tile in the police department was in bad shape. Add some wood casing and extend some countertop in the clerk's office. Are there any questions on those or more detail?
I do have one question. On the Zap General, Christy, is this Sean Strikes again? I thought we'd already dealt with Will Joe and the steel and the shoring. Was this a late presented?
This is just a change order that fell through the cracks when we went back and looked at it. I think we had like 2 or 3 from them, and this, let's just say this was number 2, and we had already approved 3, and I didn't have a 2. So
Okay.
just going back around and reading the records, it had just fallen through.
That's it.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion concerning the change orders?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. Item 2, Resolution 2020-01, approve Isaac Harderson to represent the city on the Boston Mountain Solid Waste District Board. Isaac came to me, it's been a couple months ago, asking if he could sit on this board because it is near and dear to his heart. And I told him we would see if we could get him a proxy signed to get him there.
He's qualified?
I think he's more than qualified, adequately qualified for that job.
Well, I'll make that motion. Yeah, I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no.
We don't want to hold on it back.
Yes, please.
So Isaac is your first duty or job under the new appointment. If you want, you can jump in the car with your executive director, Robin, and me on Thursday morning at around 7 or so. We'll be driving back down Little Rock. We were there 30 days ago because our neighbors to the north have pulled as fast a fast one as I have ever seen in my career, and I had to cover the Capitol for years. I've seen a lot of fast ones. They are having the executive committee of the legislative council, that is some kind of magical double secret governing body that we don't know about, do an emergency rule change so that half of our money that we get for having the landfill in our district will be taken back away from us and given back to Benton County. That's after they sued us for that money. We just overturned their Benton County judge having ruled for them, and the Court of Appeals, and now they've appealed that to the Supreme Court. Before the Supreme Court even rules on our victory, they're going to try to sneak in a rule change. We went down there because we found out about it almost by accident 30 days ago, and we threw a fit, and they gave us 30 more days, and we're going to go down there where I'm guessing they have shored up all of their support. There are, I think, just 6 or 7 members in this committee, and 2 of them are from Benton County. None of them are from Washington County. So we're going to get railroaded most likely on Thursday. And so there'll be some hard decisions to make about what we're going to do to try to preserve that state law income that we've been getting for years. The income we're supposed to have been getting this last couple of years of litigation that we've had has been escrowed over at the landfill by Ecovista, and the Supreme Court rules in our favor. I expect they do. They will. You should get that money, but then the income stream will be stopped because of this absolutely railroad double secret money that they're holding right now. So there's your first briefing. Well,
Sounds like a mess.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
actually, it's a fantastic. We have probably the best district in the state of Arkansas. Fantastic leadership, well-motivated employees. We do more with less than anybody.
And I will say that they are extremely transparent. I consider us to be very transparent as government, but that group, I mean, everything is out in the open. This is what we're doing. This is lying. Yes, very well trained.
We do more for our residents in this county and Madison County and other areas that we serve than any other district in the state.
So if this rule is changed, however duplicitous it might be, is there any regrets? I mean, is it?
It's a fantastic question, and I won't take much more time. I don't want to take time away from the mayor, but I would say that as the host of the landfill, we have responsibility as a host. One of them is who dumps the landfill, and we have to make that decision now. So that's a hard decision to make, but we have to preserve the life of that landfill, and one of the things we need to preserve is that income. So we would make decisions about that, and then does this kind of a rule change, which is basically passing a law without the legislative process, does it violate due process? And we have to decide that too. But those are the 2 first things we got to do.
Any other questions? Thank you for that.
Thank you, Mayor.
So item 3, resolution 2020-02, the 2019 budget adjustments. So we have the resolution, we have the budget in the back of the packet, underlined on those items that we are taking. Those items were negative or below negative, we're taking those back to make them whole. That's what we're trying to do here. Procedure we do every year. 4 line items that go negative, we got to bring that back to 0 just to balance everything out. We're not spending any money. We're just taking money from other line items. Right? Everyone's aware of what we're doing. Chris, do you have anything to add to that? Do we have any discussion? Do we have a motion?
Make a motion. I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2020-02. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. Item 4 is the state of the city that we have to read each year. I apologize in advance, John, but I got 3 pages out of this year. So
double spaced or nothing.
West Fork continued to see growth and advancements in 2019, and I am encouraged by the participation effort that continues to grow in our city. I am pleased to report that each city department had departmental growth and achievements in 2019. It also appears West Fork may be on the verge of seeing some growth in the coming future. As predicted, with the coming completion of our sewer connection to Fayetteville, we are beginning to see an uptick in developers looking at West Fork properties for potential construction. The 2019 report from our treasurer's office shows continued diligence with city funds and highlights many of the city's changes for the year. Bank cash balances increased for both the city and water department, $122,000 and $91,000 respectively, and both departments coming in under their budgets by $181,000 and $193,000 respectively. We did see our city sales tax decrease by 4.18% as compared to 2018, but the county sales tax was up by 3.06% when compared to 2018. We will continue to monitor our sales tax income as we move into 2020. Construction at the community center was completed. We're here, it looks great. And our court and library remodels are underway. The city reported 51 active business licenses and 6 new home building permits. We had 3 long-term employees retire, Jerry Spillers, Pauletta Welch, and Kathy Gillen. We wish them the very best in their much-deserved retirements. The West Fork Parks and Recreation Department has maintained efficient operation and care of our parks and park facilities, programs, and events in 2019, including our youth sports programs and our annual Independence Day celebration at Carter Park. The department, with assistance from the Parks Committee, has been able to implement new programs and upgrades to our park system. Parks added a fall league to our baseball and softball programs. The program included teams from West Fork and several other area towns. The league was a success and established a strong base to build upon in the future. Over 350 local kids participated in our baseball, softball, and flag football programs. Parks began construction of an 18-hole disc golf course just north of the ball fields at Carter Park. The course should be open to the public in early 2020 and will be a great addition to our town and parks. The gravel parking lot was constructed to replace the grass parking lot area at Carter Park. This new parking lot will also serve the disc golf course. Parks assisted other city departments and committees to accomplish projects, including taking on the duties of maintaining West Fork as a tree city, hosting events and programs, beautifying our city, and much more. All of this and more has been accomplished while working within the appropriated budget and maintaining a healthy surplus in our Parks Reserve Fund. The West Fork Police Department has had a busy and successful 2019 season. The PD was able to take 19 children this year for Shop with a Cop. The PD provided 840 man-hours to help train other agencies from the U of A, Washington County Sheriff's Office, and Northwest Arkansas Law Enforcement Training Academy. The PD helped the agencies in areas of firearms, traffic citations, and the usage of their in-car computers. The West Fork Firearms Range hosted agencies from University of Arkansas, VA, FBI, Emergency Response Team, Springdale Snipers, and the Washington County Sheriff's Office, with a total of 3,300 man-hours of training. The PD received approximately $8,000 in federal and state grant money this year. We've also been working with West Fork Public School to provide them with an emergency response to crisis training. We have assisted in developing an emergency response team to handle and analyze potential threats of violence in the school, as well as attending several social events throughout the year, reaching out to the citizens and children in our community. Public Works. The 2019 achievements were heavily sewer-focused, beginning with the groundbreaking for an $8 million sewer connection project and cleaning out our effluent pond to provide better water quality discharging into the West Fork White River. We completed all the new sewer line installations as part of the interim operating plan designed by McClellan Engineering and approved by ADEQ. The addition of our sewer camera has proven useful, with 7,500 feet of sewer main being televised, along with 1,500 feet of sewer service line being televised. We repaired 6 points of major groundwater inflow on the sewer main and have identified several more that we will continue to work on. We did preventative maintenance work too, and painted the Tower Street water tank and added telemetry, aka SCADA, to the tank, completed the design of Robinson Street sidewalk project, and awarded a contract. Work began in December. We also worked with the railroad to secure sidewalk crossings at Main Street and White Street, both completed in July. Public Works has stated 2020 goals to complete the sewer main project to Fayetteville, to camera 10,000 feet of sewer main, which should complete all of Basin 2, paint the Kelly Street water tank and perform preventative maintenance, replace pump number 3 at the water pump station, complete Robinson Avenue sidewalk, complete Doak Street and Main Street sidewalk, repair all point repairs identified in Basin 2, and continue to chip away at I&I. The fire department saw a wonderful 2019. They've been able to upgrade some of their equipment this year. They purchased new multi-gas detectors to be able to alert on dangerous gases such as carbon monoxide and explosive limits to other gases. They were able to provide all of our personnel with new reflective vests to wear when working on our highways to keep them safer. They purchased a set of vehicle stabilizing bars for the motor vehicle accidents that involve vehicle stabilization. All of the equipment they use and need is unfortunately very expensive, so they have to space things out quite a bit. We have a lot of plans for replacing or adding more equipment for 2020 thanks to all of our citizens. We're hoping for a sales tax increase in Washington County to fund a new radio system that the county desperately needs that will give us a much greater communication coverage. Chief Myers says he feels truly blessed to be able to serve this community as fire chief and loves this town and how all the departments in West Fork work together to accomplish all that needs to be done. In the courts, they have officially moved into their new space, accompanied by the Revenue Office. Along with our new facilities, the courts are now accepting credit card payments and taking advantage of digital document efficiencies where possible. 2019 saw many changes with West Fork District Court, as much of the year court was conducted in Greenland due to construction. Courts also said goodbye to longtime Chief Clerk Pauletta Welch after 39 years of service. In 2019, the court promoted Tracy Rebke to Chief Clerk and Mary Norman as Deputy Clerk. Construction did little to slow down the docket as the court processed 3,400 cases and had revenues in excess of $500,000 for the second year in a row. The library. The West Fork Municipal Library was very busy in 2019. In regard to our numbers, we have had around 20,000 visitors, 50,000 checkouts, and 200 new patrons in 2019. We weeded over 3,500 items, downsized to our most popular items, and packed away over 12,000 items to prepare for our expansion. We moved to one side of our building, then to the other side, and are now preparing to move everything back in as we get closer to the construction completion date this spring. We did this while putting on our 7-week summer reading program and served approximately 40 families at each event. We have been able to give away books, teaching programming, or talk about online reading at the community Easter egg hunt, 4th of July event, West Fest, and the West Fork schools. We had 10 young adult volunteers throughout the year to gain community service hours for their schools, work, or college applications. We gained 2 staff members that are helping with our children and young adult programming. Our goals for 2020 will be finalizing what items will go where in the new edition, introducing new programming, establishing our mission, and continuing to provide many services that meet the needs of the community. As you can see, 2019 was a very productive year for the city of West Fork. Our revenues increased at a greater rate than our expenses. We had both new homes and businesses added, and each department was successful in obtaining many of their stated goals for 2019. With the success and achievements gained in 2019, I am encouraged and excited with the vision and goals set forth for the coming year. Okay. Hold your applause, Isaac. All right, so that concludes our new business. Mayor's comments. Our February meeting will be held at the Court Police Building. There will be an open house from 5:30 to 6 prior to that meeting, so please try to come in advance for that, so you can see the new courts building. Ask the Mayor. It's Friday at 3 o'clock, so please tune in for that. And there was one other thing that I was going to bring up and ask the Mayor, and I did not write it down. So, I think we'll close Mayor's comments. Do we have any other questions concerning the council?
One very brief thing, and I think Chad talked about it earlier tonight, on the 17th December. Madeline Van Cleek sent us all an email about the Riverside Park rules as far as bicycles on the sidewalks and the parking lot. I think Chad answered that. For me, at least, it was the rule about the bikes on the path is because of the width of the sidewalk. I guess, did anybody respond, Madeline?
So I did not get that email. It looks like she hit you guys and not me.
Selected.
But it is on our topics for discussion on Ask the Mayor. But in prior research to this, Joe, yes, the sidewalks are too narrow, and the reason the ordinance was written the way it is was due to complaints of people being ran over. We had citizens trying to walk and pedestrians on bicycles and skateboards running them off the path, and they came to the council at some point in time in the past, and we set the ordinance to exclude bicycles and skateboards at that time.
Okay.
Anything else?
Will you address also about the tree issue?
Sure.
Along the railroad tracks. I had talked, just in response to some Facebook posts, I had talked to our East facilitator in the middle school, because every year they partner with an organization to plant trees, and usually they plant them on the school's campus. And so I just asked her hypothetically if we needed to plant some trees somewhere in response to citizens' requests. And she said they would be more than happy to do that, but then I was concerned about, and asked the mayor about the railroad's land there where people were wanting trees planted, and so maybe that would be something you could talk about in your Facebook Live too, so that the citizens are aware of
Of why there's not
limitations.
trees, yes.
Yeah, why there's not trees. So potentially, our East group could, if you wanted trees planted anywhere, they could partner with the city, because they do that every year, and she's more than happy to work with the city, but it probably won't happen on the railroad tracks.
Correct. And so that'd be something Chad can maybe reach out.
And they have in the past, around our new addition to the sidewalks at Riverside, they came in there and planted trees a few years back as well. So we have in the past, and definitely, I don't want any more trees that I mow around, but.
Yeah.
But there are areas that we
Yeah.
have worked with in the past and could possibly in the future.
And I thought, my first thought when Dina was talking to me about it was, could we use it for our tree city? But I guess they're saplings, or they're very small trees, and we've obviously tried to plant larger trees for
Yeah,
that.
and
So
it would still help the tree city. If we would need something a little bit different for annual tree planting.
okay, but maybe we can combine efforts
Sure.
for that. Maybe get some of the kids out
That
there.
helps with our tree city.
Yeah.
Also.
Okay. Anything else before we adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
We have a motion.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries.